On the cost of corruption, we continue to think about the National Cereals and Produce Board, 1.9 billion shillings. Kenya Pipeline Company, 647 million. Kenya Power, 470 million. Kenya Forest Service, 2 billion for planting what? Trees. And those trees cannot be planted before we pray. For your information. Youth Enterprise Development Fund, 10 million. And another 180 million. Higher. The National Tree Planting Program. Public holiday, 2 billion shillings. And we can go on and on and on until we talk about Golden Park, 60 billion, Chicken Gate in 2016, 59 million. The African program. Public holiday, 2 billion shillings. And we can go on and on and on until we talk about Golden Park, 60 billion, Chicken Gate in 2016, 59 million, the African program. Public holiday, 2 billion shillings. And we can go on and on and on until we talk about Golden Park, 60 billion, Chicken Gate in 2016, 59 million, the African program. And we can go on and on and on until we talk about Golden Park, 60 billion, Chicken Gate in 2016, 59 million, the African program. If the former president told us that we lose 2 billion, and I heard Professor Kimuta Kibwana saying it's not shillings, it is billion, US dollars. What have we done since a former president? In fact, that time he was an active president. What did we do about it? Did we arrest anyone? Did we fill in the loopholes? Then when he wrote his speech, the head of public service said, we want to undertake a research. But don't believe Simon, because when that research is being taken and a committee has been formed, a church leader must be a member of that committee. Sababu chini hapa mko kwa kamati everywhere, even for my local country.
No, don't laugh, because on was it Monday or yesterday, the waters washed part of the house and a committee, so the fundis were coming to repair. And some elders called and said, we cannot start this construction before. And my good friend Mark had to go and put on his robe. I have the photos I can show you. It's really sad that you can't see anything. He had to go and put on his robe, now to find a full prayer before the fundis began working. When we begin to put these committees and you are invited, why do you accept? When you know that corruption is hurting us and that committee is supposed to address what? Corruption. Do you ever take time to ask the difficult questions? What is the bill of quantity of this thing that you want to do? What was the process of procuring the people, the service providers? Has it been undertaken
in public participation? So goodwill is good, but doing the goodwill, actionable points that address goodwill is what will help us deal with corruption. Number two, we also need to address the enablers of corruption. The lawyers. Nairobi County, for example, sadly you can't see anything. But in the state of the county address of His Excellency the Governor, did you see the amount of money they pay lawyers? Did you see? What does that mean to you as a religious leader in addressing corruption? What does it mean to us? So, enablers of corruption, like our learned friends, the lawyers, the legal fraternity, the judiciary, those are channels that we also need to engage. And I would propose, Dugu, that maybe we also need to do a colloquium of LSK and the religious leaders. When we go to Mombasa for the Law Society annual conference, other than asking for, do we have any lawyer who is a bishop in our midst? We need a meeting between the learned friends and religious leaders, so that we also are able to understand the mechanisms that happen for these resources to be plundered under the watch of the learned friends, who also come to our churches every Saturday. Na kwa wale ambao ni Waislamu kama ndugu yangu hapa, kila siku mara 6, si ndio? Mara 5. What does that mean to us as faith and practice on the war of corruption? Finally, social norms. We need to begin to have very deep conversations around national values and principles. Patriotism, again in our group, somebody mentioned patriotism. I think it was this gentleman. Akatuambia ameenda kule Tanzania, polisi wanamsalimia kama wamefurahi sana, lakini akija hapa Kenya hata naambiwa hai kurudumu ya gari yako ni mbaya, yet he told us he only got it 4 days ago. What is the psyche of the people who drive channels of prevention of corruption in our country? What is their sense of training? Can this gathering resolve that we recommend for a proper curriculum on anti-corruption? So that when you go to Kenya School of Government, where I teach once in a while, sometimes, no public officer should be given an opportunity to serve without having been certified from a curriculum of the religious leaders to serve as a public officer. So that when we see you say, they're saying you have stolen money, we can ask you, na mbona ulituambia umejazwa na Roho Mtakatifu? So I think I've already addressed that. For us who are from the counties, it is important that we get involved in the institutions of governance, the county budget and economic forum, public participation, because that is where the discussions happen. Whether you are invited or not, please go. Sit, listen, and when you have the opportunity to ask questions, even if you don't have, but religious leaders will always have the opportunity, because they can't ignore your corner. They will always give you the chance. Please let's work with our county governments to also address the corruption menace, because it is too much down there. So as county governments, one part of what we are doing is to organize citizens through what we call citizen action groups. We train them, we give them something that we call a tool, which is both online and offline, and they're able to report. So with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission right now, we are asking them, when you give us the indices and the performance of Kenya, how come you never tell us the number of cases reported by citizens and what type of cases are they? So that is something that we are working on EACC together, so that we also boost them and they're able to realize that citizens are actually watching. I share all these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy
Those of you who understand these languages, Kevin is simply saying, is there a way I can become a bishop? So don't worry, but I picked one very important point. It's just that the PowerPoint is not working. I wanted to put my name up there so that I say I'm very available for boards. I'd like to join any board. I'm available. I have a few hours I can spare because I hear it's working very well. Yeah. So, but anyway, Kevin, thank you so much for coming to watch. I think it's worthy staying this afternoon to listen to this kind of information, isn't it? Yeah. So we have our last speaker. Let's put our hands together for Kevin. eat, the cows will not die. Yeah, so that's why they have to pray for them. The ticks can collapse by their own. Yeah. Really, thank you so much. And now we have our very last speaker. As you know, our court. Sorry, I have to apologize in public. I wrote your name, Ekuro. Actually, his name is Ekuru, with the U at the end, not O. Dr. Ekuru, of course, is a very well-known Kenyan. He's done a lot for this country. He's fighting for this country. And like all of us, he's also trying to make this country a better place to live in, and especially for us who also think about the future, the generations to come. So allow me to ask once again, let's put our hands together to listen to this.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that I'll be able to make a lot of sense as the last speaker. Normally in conferences, by the time you're speaking, last people are so tired. But I'll try to make it very brief and hopefully also a little bit interactive. Now, I know just by way of introduction, I want to honestly be critical in the few points that I'm going to make. I will not bore you with a lot of theories, because you're not in an academic class. We're actually discussing practical issues that affect our country, and that is corruption. Now, before I go to the subject I was asked to speak about, which is legislation and enforcement, to just adopt a little bit of a critical approach to this discourse, I want to say three quick things. Number one, I think when we talk about corruption in our country, it calls for a deeper introspection and reflection of our society and its behavior. How much do we actually reflect? Now that you use the title faith-based practice, faith practice, it also means that as Christians, as religious people, this is that time when we reflect before we speak to the Maker of God. So corruption, in my view, also calls for us to have that introspection about what is it that is happening in our country. And this introspection, in my view, I see it from about, again, three perspectives. Number one, what kind of society do we actually want as Kenyans? This is not necessarily about law. What kind of society do we want? Number two, are we happy with our society in relation to this subject as it is today? If you look at the status quo in Kenya, can we say we are happy? I think for me it's a critical question that we must be able to ask. And lastly, why do members of a certain society, for example, or a group or a community, oftentimes protest when a member of that group is arrested or is being summoned for questioning? Isn't this a common phenomenon in our country? But how often do we actually reflect about that and ask ourselves the question, why are they protesting? Because this person who is accused of stolen money, he never shared this process of corruption with everyone. I didn't see a member say of the Mulembe or the Turkana community say, now that I've been made minister, line up here as the Turkanas or the Kikuyus or the Luos, hapa ndio kuna tukule sote pamoja. So we never see that. But whenever there is someone into the so-called revolving doors at EACC headquarters, you hear protest, somebody is being actually escorted in almost celebratory mode. Hata wanaimba, wanabeba twigs, as if actually is a celebration of sort. So there's something fundamentally wrong with our society, and that's why I say we now need to think about introspection, about the kind of society that we have. But the second point related to that is, can we locate the chains, now that you have used the word, breaking the chains of corruption? Where are these chains? Because chains means actually, we are like interconnected. Yeah, we've been told, this is how it's like us holding hands together and walking. So if we want to break those, are we able to locate those chains so that we can break them and therefore end corruption? And lastly, on that point, let me now try to deconstruct some terminologies, especially as you have chosen to use them. Faith practice in breaking the chains of corruption. Let me try to deconstruct. For me, let me adapt two quick meanings. The first one is, what really is faith? I'm not very good at preaching or even reading the Bible or the Quran or the other. But I just want to ask, what is faith? So there are two meanings that I've picked from this word when I looked at it, and you can all look at it. I think I just lifted them from the internet. First definition means a complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So you have faith, complete trust in someone or something. Just like you have faith in Jesus Christ, you have faith in God, you have faith in the Holy Book. So you have a complete trust in that someone or something. So then comes the question, do we trust our institutions to end the chains of corruption? Do we have faith in those institutions that we have given the responsibility to end corruption? For example, do we have faith in the presidency of this country to end corruption? Don't give me the answer, but I mean, yes, I did. So do we have faith in the EACC to end corruption? Do we have faith in the public not to practice corruption? Do we have faith in the police to enforce laws against corruption? Do we have faith in the judiciary to punish corruption? Okay? So that is the meaning of complete trust, or now you have said, and the list can go on and on, but I just wanted to use this example. Now let's go to the second meaning of the word faith. It is a strong belief in the doctrines of religion based on spiritual conviction rather than proof. And underline the words doctrines of religion and spiritual conviction. Okay? Now, at the risk of sounding very unpopular with you, all people who I think are very religious, are we a religious society, really? Do we actually have that strong belief in the doctrines of religion, and are we spiritually convicted? And that's why I said I'm going to be a bit critical, because I want to talk about introspection about our society. So, almost in summary, I can say we are a very pretentious society. We pretend, we pray, I don't know how many times a day, before we eat, we pray, before we insult each other, we pray. Actually, we pray to insult each other. Well, especially in political rallies, they pray first and then they start insulting each other. You bishops, sheikhs, you invite us to your churches, and then eventually after all the religious, dramas and all that, now we say, kuna mheshimiwa fulani hapa, wacha tumkaribisha aseme one or two things. So even the pulpit now has been used as a space for insulting each other. And you never reprimand them. You never reprimand them. So that's why I'm saying we are a pretentious religious society. Our politics, all faith is lost with tribal politics. By the way, and this is what makes me, I know we read in the book of Exodus that, God gave the Israelites, which of course we embrace and talk about. And so Prophet Muhammad gave the Muslims the Quran and, all the other religious books. But we actually believe in those things. Well, no, not in those things, those holy scriptures. The Ten Commandments, the Bible, the whatever, and all. And I had the privilege to read about almost all the religions in the world. And bottom in all the religions in the world, it actually boils to two things. Do good and avoid bad. It's really as simple as that. So it does not matter, whether you wear some regalia and dance and, shout and, it's just do good and avoid bad. It's as simple as that. That for me is just the basic meaning of spirituality and religion. But, so that is the word faith. I hope I've critically, but let's now look at the word practice, because you've chosen to use the word faith practice in breaking the chains of corruption. What really does this word mean to us in the context of fighting corruption? Again, this is why I said we need to begin by introspection, to be critical about some of these things, some of these wording that we throw in the interest, in the quest to fight some of the vices that we have.
in our society. So, in the word practice, I chose this meaning deliberately. To me, the actual application or use of an idea, belief, or method as opposed to theories relating to it. Let me repeat that. The actual, not the word, the actual application of an idea or belief or method as opposed to theories relating to it. How are we practically applying the fight against corruption in the actual sense? With that idea, no, we don't want corruption. It's an idea. But how are we practicing it? Now, let me deconstruct that by saying, number one, so for me, because the practice is very questionable in our society, I therefore make the following conclusion that the fight against theft of public funds is cosmetic and theoretical. Because we are not practical about fighting it. So when we say, oh, we're fighting corruption, because
we don't have faith in it, we have established we don't have faith in the institution, in ourselves, in fighting corruption. But now, even in terms of practicing that actual fight, so we don't practice. So it now means fighting theft of public money is actually theoretical. It's cosmetic. And I say this because earlier on I hinted to you, we cannot even live by the 10 commandments, just to use Christianity as an example. Do not steal, do not commit adultery, do not do this, and we all know all those. We can't live. But then here we come as a pretentious society and we say, if we cannot live by just 10 commandments, 10, the number of the fingers on our hands, then how can we live with 264 articles of the Constitution of Kenya 2010?
And I'm sure there's many of you probably, but I'm going to give the Constitution. Then you want to cite the law, you want to tell us something about the Constitution. So 10 commandments in that's 264 articles and 6 schedules. Tawezi. Or, another example, we cannot just practice 74 sections with 3 schedules of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act. That's 74 art sections. And I'm sure many of you, I don't know many of you have read that even half of those sections. But here we are talking about corruption. The corruptions. How do we fight it if we don't even now know the tools that actually will help us eradicate? And there are only 74 sections with 3 schedules in that law.
But I'll give you another example also. Sorry, I'm boring you a little bit with laws because you asked me to come and speak about legislation and enforcement. There is also a law that has 398 sections. This is the Penal Code, Chapter 63 of the Laws of Kenya. So I'm just trying to say, be critical to machine on, because every Sunday, every Juma, every day, the sheikhs, the pastors, the bishops tell us about how to live as good Christians, as good Muslims, as good human beings, and we are not practicing it. Now, when it comes to matters of law, sometimes some of them are written in legalese, in English, that maybe some of us are even struggling because now, before we shed off our mother tongues, the way we pronounce certain words, so you can imagine the difficulty in understanding some of these legalese. But at least in the 10 Commandments, it's written in what I think is plain English. So we are able to understand. So really, just from this practice, I can say as follows. No one believes in practicing the eradication of theft of public money in our country. In fact, we are all thieves and corrupt except that we lack an opportunity to steal. It could prove me wrong. Okay, of course, as a general rule, I think let's agree, as the lawyers in the house, there is always a general rule, but for every general rule, there is an exception. So generally, we are thieves, but there are exceptions of those who cannot steal. Secondly, also, look at the transformation of people who occupy public offices, especially at the highest level. I can tell you for some of us who God has blessed to live up to a certain number of years, we know a lot of people today who are in government. But the way they they do a 360 transformation in their lives. And we know their salaries. But we also know how they are fighting to be in certain committees, say in parliament, be in certain boards. So when you ask yourself, what is this? I'll give you an example. So I drive a very old Mercedes Benz. It's at Naringa, but it's an old one. So one time I drive into one of the social places and then drives in also, I think a one-term member of parliament at that time. Now I think he's doing 3 and actually almost the face of leadership in Kenya today. And he drives in a Mercedes Benz S350, if I'm not wrong.
S300. Very sleepy and looking. And of course, he looks at me and says, because he knew me. For quite some time. So I said, okay, let me also be cheap and say, Shimua. Unfortunately, but you are driving a Toyota the other day, this is a Mercedes S300. And then, of course, he checks it and says, no, I was just talking. I said, I knew you were he expected. And there are many examples you can give me of somebody almost an informal setting, but all of a sudden has moved to car and he drives this kind of car. If you drive some of these kind of cars, you know exactly what it means to own some of these cars and the cost involved with it. But because we also know Mishara, we get happy, we know many people we also, because we are African, we support not just our immediate families, we support our community. So for you to have this kind of surplus money, kuna shida. And therefore, because of that, there is resistance, for example, on lifestyle audit, especially by top leaders. Especially when they become rich, all of a sudden, try to come up with the issue of lifestyle audit. We wouldn't try to say it, but it was a PR exercise according to some of us. Because, if that lifestyle audit was to be applied, I think even he'll have serious trouble explaining how he's supposed to be a rich person. And yet we know all our leaders are not like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, or Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates, or even Dangote, who can be associated with certain serious businesses, invention, or going into the moon, or whatever. So that, their wealth. You cannot question Elon Musk, for example, or Jeff Bezos, because we know exactly the kind of things they've done, and they publish their wealth. But how has it done? But all of a sudden, people are quite rich. Okay, let me now come closer to and I'm about to finish. But what really then is the definition and the meaning of corruption in our social, political, cultural, and legal context? I think Kevin has already spoken about that in the speaker before. We lawyers, whenever you go to law school, there is a course we are taught, I think as a first year, it's called the social foundations of law. And the social foundations of law confirm that the law emanates from within the framework of society, because it's how we behave and relate to each other. So do not trespass in my land, steal from me. So society expects of you to behave yourself in a certain way. And because of that expectation, that actually becomes law, the rules, the norms of how we correlate and exist with each other. So the vice of corruption, therefore, comes from within our society. It doesn't come from planet Mars or Jupiter. So why is this practice within our society? Because we have allowed it, because it's part and parcel of us. That's why I started by saying we must now have some introspection into ourselves, into our kind of society. Because this is something that is practiced within us. So we must call any transgression what it really is. From our mother, I'm trying to be tricky and learn some languages. What is the word corruption?
Vis-a-vis theft. For example, I want to surprise my friend Kevin Osido that, in Doluo, which many will say Luo, but there's no language called Luo. The actual language, the real language is Doluo. And I did a little bit of research. I asked friends of mine, what is the corruption in Doluo? And they told me, it's called Mibathi. Then I interrogated it even more. In the experience, they told me it's any outward behavior and from the word but through work. Yeah? But still does not really explain what corruption really is. Because it's like mtu mambo yake haieleweki, si ndio? Kevin is maneno mingi mchanganyiko. So ni bathi work. So mtu haieleweki. I think those people who listen to Lingala, you know the word lukumba. But he told me, but if you say kuo or jakuo, it actually comes closer home. It means somebody who has taken the property or something of another person. Jakuo, you are a thief. Then I went to the Kikuyu. I asked the Kikuyus, what is the word corruption? I can't remember the other word they gave me, which is all similar to mibathi, like just somebody with funny behavior. Gugumania, yes, that's the word. But they say, but still, you know, it's not very clear. But when you say mwishi, mwishi,
yes. So, but when you use now that word, you can somehow come closer to that and say, we need to make a mistake. That compared to that, yes. Now, the Kalenjin, is a Kalenjin in the house? So you have a Kalenjin, you ask a Kalenjin, what is a thief? Then they don't even know, but they will tell you, Chorinet is basically just a thief. So that if you look at our languages, even our mother tongue, the common denominator for somebody who enriches themselves unfairly is actually a thief. So that's the same summation you can make of corruption. It's what we call, what easily related to. We won't scratch our heads when we call someone a thief. We can ask the question, who did he steal? And from who? You know, but when we say something in Bali, it's so difficult to connect to an actual act or a property of someone. But we say a thief, immediately say, no, I'm talking about conniving. So we can easily deal with that situation. Now, second last part of my let's now talk about enforcement administration. Now, I'm not talking about those because I think Kevin and the other colleagues have spoken about it. First, we are not short of legislations to end theft in our society. Let's just agree on that. We have too many laws to end the theft of public people, or even bad manners. You know, some of us, I remember when you were growing up in the village and you misbehave yourself out there. It didn't have to be your parent or your uncle who actually punishes you for bad behavior. Because bad behavior was the norm. You know, if you are a true one, anybody out there will just grab you and beat you up. So you go back home and tell your mom, hey, so because I did this, then I chop on Marambili second time. So because it was a societal norm not to engage in certain bad matters. And anybody could actually
against that. So, even if we don't have legislation, which for me I believe, we may not even need legislation, because we are religious, as we are already established, even though our faith is a bit questionable. So even if we don't have legislation, are we really a religious country and therefore should live with the tenets of our respective religions? Because if we live with the tenets of those religions, honestly, we don't need many laws. We don't need to talk about legislating, because then you respect our responsibility you're given and told, enda jengea watu daraja, ama barabara, ama shule, you will not divert that money to something else, because you say, hey, my God in heaven is looking upon me. Anaona vile mimi na divert your pesa. So if we live by those religious tenets and beliefs, honestly, we don't need laws. Yeah? But now, how do we enforce? So that now that we have agreed, we don't necessarily need laws. So how do we enforce some of these, concerns? I think the use of judicial authority is very critical going forward. I'll just give you two examples, but I will not elaborate on them because we had tried to get Professor Sifuna here, and I think he's in the program, but I think because the invitation got to him very late. Professor Sifuna has used judicial authority almost effectively to address the question of corruption. You will recall, I think 3 weeks or last month, Mwangi Wairia, the former governor of Murang'a, had been summoned by EACC. And because he was fearing being arrested, he rushed to court and he applied for what is called bail pending arrest. Yeah? So he said, no, don't arrest me. But when they went to the judge said, fine, enjoy your bail pending arrest. Yeah? But I want you, I am ordering you, report to EACC, record a statement, and get fingerprinted and get charged. So we will not arrest you, but I'm now telling you, go to that institution. That was one way, very creative way of using judicial authority. Because bail pending arrest should not be a deterrence, especially if you have been accused or charged of having diverted resources. So this is a very clever way in which the judge was actually enforcing the laws to end corruption or to break the chains of corruption. Then there's a second one, I think you must have read it either today or yesterday, the director of National Cereal and Produce Board. Even he tried to do the same thing and he was told, no, you have to present yourself. Because when you enjoy the trappings of public office, the niceties of it, security and all that, you're busy flouting, hata siku hizi ukiona mtu akiwa mkubwa hata kubeba envelope inakuwa mzito, anabebewa na. So that kind of, we see you, we call you mheshimiwa, we allow you to drive on the wrong side of the road. So why is it that now, when we question how you have spent money, you want to run away from it? So I like the fact that the judges, actually judiciary, is doing something about using the law. Now, enforcement of the constitution and the rule of law is, for me, something that is still questionable. As you all know, the constitution is the will of the people. The constitution, strictly speaking, is not a law, especially when you are making it. It's a negotiated agreement. How do we behave unto ourselves? How do we relate to the institutions? But the moment you pass it, it becomes what I think the Germans call the Grundnorm, the highest norm. So that it is expected that everybody must behave themselves before that, it must respect and protect them. That's why Article 3 of the Constitution mandates all of us to respect, uphold, and protect the Constitution whenever it's broken. So it's a responsibility. Just the same way Article 1 says, all sovereign authority and power vests in you, the people. You can exercise it directly or indirectly through your elected representatives. But when your elected representative steals, nyinyi ndio bado tu mnaingia maandamano kusema mtu wetu. So, a constitution, by the way, even though it's the highest law of the land, is actually a piece of paper. So we must breathe life into it. Because it may not even be what the paper is written on if you don't respect it. Yeah? So even the best constitution in the world, if you leave it to a dog, for example, who cannot read it, how can they enforce it? Another thing they are not to be even our laws, I would say the same thing. They are all pieces of paper. But people must be able to breathe life into those laws. That's how they become meaningful. So that even enforcement against corruption, we must be able to breathe life into those laws so that we can end corruption. For example, if you look at Chapter 12 of our Constitution, Article 201 on public finance, and it talks about prudent use of public money. Prudent use of public money. Now, if you're a leader truly who has been given money by the people, and now you've got the budget of the country, how are you using that money prudently? For example, I'll just use two examples. Chief Administrative Secretary, which the President William Ruto is forcing down the throat of Kenyans. A part of the cabinet, although they pretend it's not, they actually have created an illegal position of assistant cabinet secretary because they are above the PS. That is not in our constitution. If you read Article 130 of the Constitution of Kenya, it talks about the National Executive, which comprises the President, his deputy, as a cabinet. So when you create a political office like CAS to deputize the Chief Administrative Secretary, you are actually undermining the principal secretary who is actually in the Constitution. But that's not even the problem. The problem is we are going to gobble 9.14 billion pensions. Now, is that prudent use of national or public money? Especially when you have doctors who are saying all we need is 5 billion in the collective bargaining agreement, which is an agreement which is adopted as a court order. And these doctors will be serving about 55 million Kenyans. Chief Administrative Secretary actually serving one person, the president, because it's political reward.
I mean, we can pretend about it, but some of us who know these things, we know exactly this is a reward scheme. So if you compare what, I think how many jobs are there? Was it 2,000? Maybe 1,000. But the people they serve. But over and above that, the kind of work they do, because for me, we should no longer be saying that doctors are saving lives every day. They are saving lives every minute. Every minute, they are saving lives every minute. Now, really, in terms of equating that person with some political loudness just because they are paid for you and whatever. Is that good use of our resources, of our public money? Chapter 6 is just a decoration in our constitution today. Yeah? Because we are also the people who are electing these scrupulous characters into office because we motivated. So why are you surprised when they steal our money? Because it's like you are locking your sheep and goat together with a hyena. Tomorrow in the morning, if a goat is eaten, surely, why should you be complaining? When you know it's the nature of a hyena to eat meat. So I think chapter 6 is something we need to look at. Look at the extravagance and adjacent government. You have a government that says, oh, we don't have money, we elected empty coffers. But your expenditure, you're even now paying your spouses who are not even in the constitution, they may be building houses for them. I mean, and these are not poor people. People, for example, I mean, like even the office of the deputy. I mean, I'm nothing personal against the deputy, but I don't even after he recovered back his 200 million shillings. Sure, they shouldn't touch any of our money in the public industry to help his wife because they're not jobless people. But anyway, so that's the constitution. The other way we can enforce this is the use of the Auditor General's report, which we are not using at all. When we promoted the Constitutional Amendment Bill of 2019, we had proposed to create a department called the Forensic Audit Department. Now, lawyers will understand that the Forensic Audit Department is actually the gathering of evidence for purposes of a criminal trial. And when you gather evidence forensically, trust me, any lawyer or any lawyer don't even have to. All you need to do is put the Auditor General in the stand and tell him, how long did it take to audit this person? It took 6 months. You looked at what document, you looked at this. What was the board head? The vice president that it is this. They said they will be more at school. Did you find that school? Or there are certificates of completion? If it's not there, the trial of thieves of public money should not even take a day in our country. Frankly speaking, how is it that then we are lynching somebody who steals a banana in a matter of seconds, but a thief who will give 6 months to, I mean, the Auditor General literally begs, please, hii barabara umesema unajenga iko wapi? Hii hospitali, you're literally begging them. And then eventually they don't give you. And now that takes me to the next point, which is that you even have the control of budget today who has come out to say, hey, looking at the budget, there is theft. Because these are the people who control the budget. So they know they have the figures. They will tell you in State House, you have ghost workers. In the counties, because if you see a Muslim in some of those counties, you have ghost workers. Because the people who control our budget. Why do we find it so difficult to believe them? And the reason we don't believe them, and that's what has made the enforcement very difficult. Then you have got another incompetent entity called the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, who I think in my view could even the DCI, Director of Criminal Investigation. This remains a stumbling block, and I'll say it for the following reason. Somebody files a report and says, we suspect County X or Minister X has stolen money. DCI goes and investigates. They file a report, they create what is called a police file. Now, police file is normally taken to this DPP. And they ask DPP, based on our investigation, the evidence we have gathered, can you please advise us whether to charge this person or not to charge this person? And it's normally DPP who gives the okay. He sends that file back through the Inspector General of Police, then to DCI, then the charge sheet is drawn. And guess who makes the first application? Especially if you remember Kamata Fridays.
So you unakamatwa Friday, unateswa kidogo hapo, unazungushwa couple of police stations, then on Monday you are arraigned. The first person to make an application is the police to say, we need time to complete investigations. Then why did you forward this file in the first instance to DPP? And why did you, DPP, say, go ahead and charge because we believe there is sufficient evidence to prosecute this person? So you can see the conspiracy. Yeah? One believes we have gathered enough. Please give us the okay to charge, to bring this person to court. You are taken to court, then they say, oh, we need more time to investigate. So here, we are seeing a lot of incompetence with these two agencies, or a conspiracy, basically. Second, lastly, Parliament. Another stumbling block on why we are not able to enforce the fight against corruption in this country. They start by allocating money to thieves of public money. Known thieves. You are NYS. You have not accounted for 2 billion Kenya shillings. Then in the subsequent financial year, budget year, we allocate you another 5 billion. That's a person already who's been found not to have accounted for money. Ministries, counties, all those. So, but still Parliament at the budgeting, you actually allocate money to somebody who has not accounted for that money.
That's what now becomes the common phrase, corruption through budget. Parliament ought to be more vigilant and ask questions. Why should we allocate money when we have not approved, confirmed XY amount of billions of money? So Parliament is actually doing it. And even to make worse, what Parliament does, they reduce audit findings, and only to mark these words, audit findings into audit queries. For you who are familiar with auditing, when you go and audit an institution, you will raise questions. That's what they call audit queries. Then you will ask the administration, can you please clarify this in audit queries? By the time the auditor pens the final report, he has made a finding. And that finding is nothing else than the fact that you have stolen. There's no two way about it. And yet, they are not auditors. If you look at some of our parliamentarians, they can't even read a C for B. Then how can they understand matters of audit? Then let's go to the presidents, because this is another stumbling block in the fight against corruption. And for them, it started campaign level. Under my watch, nobody will steal a single billion. Okay? I will do this, I will do that. Or, we are losing 2 billion every year or 700 billion annually. You are the president, you are lamenting. What are the rest of us supposed to do? You have got the intelligence, you have the police, you have the DCI, you can even have Interpol, you can even collaborate with foreign governments and say, this person we believe has stashed money out of the country. Can you check this for us? Check for us if he has an account in Mauritius, Seychelles, or Switzerland, Geneva. I mean, these are all tools available to the presidents of a country through the available. But when you have a president who comes and says, oh, nataka nifanye nini?
Yeah. So again, as the appointing authority, why is it so difficult for a president to say, hey, Bwana Linturi, and I'm not by there to crucify him. I'm just saying there are serious issues that has arisen around this fake fertilizer, and there's a little bit of evidence. Or you can even send your own NRS and say, Ebu confirm kama hii fertilizer is true. I saw the mockery. I do believe the fertilizer they took to Stenet was real, was genuine. Now when those guys wananusa your fertilizer, what expertise do they have? And what are they comparing it with? I mean, it's making the fight against corruption very comical. Because I'm so sure there was a government department that actually delivered those fertilizers, and I think those fertilizers were genuine.
I don't know if you can say that thing so it's interesting. The whole thing is very. I want to come to ESCC and I want to get critical with ESCC. I think for ESCC, I feel that they need to stop the many press conferences and releases. Kenyans want to see action. And I say this because you may not agree with me, but to investigate theft of public money today in Kenya is one of the most lucrative businesses in Kenya. Let me tell you why. typical public servant who probably takes home, say, 40,000, he's traveling, maybe on the family support. Then you're going to investigate at 200 million. And knowing the society that we are, remember I said earlier, we are all thieves, we just don't have the opportunity to steal. Except, of course, at thieving. Yeah? Now that's the society we are. Now we are going to ask, Kevin, 200 million, you have looked at your books, Kevin
looks at you, even the kind of suit you are dressed in, you look like you have not eaten from I don't know when. I tells you, but how can we make this thing go away? Trust me, this is the language they speak. So a guy who steals 100 million and offers you even 1 million or 2 million, then they write very shoddy reports that cannot not actually convict you. And now, people will not tell you, because some of us who are tunasikia hii maneno, wanakuambia sasa wanaiba huko juu, kwa nini sisi hapa chini tunasumbuliwa? That becomes the norm. And that's what I'm saying, we need an introspection as a society. Because people are now balancing, if those guys can steal billions, if so and so can just become a billionaire overnight through public money, why are you questioning me about some small things? Sometimes I actually don't mind giving a police officer who stops because I'm overspeeding, maybe 500, but because I think he probably needs it more, and it's my personal money, so I'm not being corrupt. So the question then for me is on a light note. Even if we give prosecutorial powers to EACC, what difference will it make with this kind of behavior? I know Osido will push for, let's give them.
In fact, me, I think we should probably think of this body in EACC and empower the police. Because
I can sit and I agree with you. Theft should be theft. I gave you the example of the penal code. We don't need to call it, we are elevating it to something special. It's not. Wizi ni wizi. Whether umeiba mabilioni ama umeiba mulika mwizi ama nini, umeiba wewe.
It's just the degrees and the punishment. So even if we give EACC prosecutorial powers, I don't think we really end this. But we now need to rethink. Let's treat this as normal theft. Rather we increase more police officers, a special force, police, because I think there's a lot of public. And also, second last one, on the question of the EACC, the publication of what is recovered honestly is a drop in information compared to the billions of things. I think we need to question that. When they say they have recovered, I don't know, a few millions. When Auditor General report shows billions is lost, control of budget shows billions is lost, and it tells us you recovered, 30 something million, I don't know, over like 5 years, that's a joke. And that's why I keep on saying, investigating corruption
is a lucrative business even for the people investigating it. It's like sending a thief to go and catch a thief. In conclusion, let me just say as follows. I think I can say this with confidence that there is no goodwill, both political and public, in ending theft of public money in this country. We are not angry enough as a people to say that the theft of public money is actually devastating our society. So I don't see goodwill, both in the political, in the leadership, and also in the members of the public. We should be lynching people. I don't know whether that's a good thing to say, but I think we should adopt, secondly, and my conclusion is we should adopt the Chinese model, where they encourage, actually they don't encourage, they take you. They bring a bus, all public officers, in kwa hii bus, they go and show you all thieves of public money in a prison. And you are told, you and your family members, you are actually taken on a tour to be shown
those thieves. And for me, I think going forward, I think we should build a very transparent prison, somewhere maybe in Champi Desert, which is with transparent, so that this thief stole 2 billion. We need to come up with some sort of a whole of shame kind of thing. And in China, when you steal public money, you are shot and your family pays for that. Because they say there's no way we can waste a public resource on a thief. So your family pays. And I think that's the way we should also do in this country. Because all of a sudden, why would my daughter, who is not even 18 years, be having a bank account of 100 million? Or my wife, who maybe is not working at the same level as me, or
So those are for me some of the radical ways we should look at this corruption. We call corruption what it really is, which is theft, and apply the penal code. Stop elevating it into a special crime, because that is the only reason we are unable to actually end this crime. And number 4, in the alternative, make it a serious crime and categorize it as either murder. For example, for the COVID billionaires, you can imagine how many people they killed when they denied them medication during that time. These are mass murderers. They are not just murderers. These are mass murderers. Imagine theft of public money on our resources that leaves roads in a very bad state of affairs, and then they cause accidents that kills many Kenyans. Or people who steal money meant for education. You can imagine the negative impact, not just on our children, but on generations to come. So we really, if we must call this crime, then let's call it the most serious crime. Murder, mass murder, manslaughter, even genocide actually. Look, if you are selling fake fertilizers to Kenyans, what are you killing? You are killing the food security. You are killing agriculture in this country. You are starving people. And this is by a state agency. So this is genocide by a state. And I think that's what we should call it. We should call it what it is. Second, lastly, the choice of our leaders undermines the fight against corruption. We cannot pretend about it. Why do we choose people with questionable characters into leadership? And then expect the Sama will become Saul on his way to Damascus and become Paul. Seriously. Yeah? But importantly, I believe that we should amend Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya on sovereign authority and power, so that we as the employers of our leaders should be able to fire when they fail. And I do strongly believe that, and this is part of the reason why, of course, we were fought when we brought in Lcmc of Constitution Amendment Bill in 2019, because some of the ideas there were very radical. We are going to release parliament drastically. If you are adversely mentioned in theft of public resources, there is no clearance for you to run for public office. We are trying to clean up the system in a way. But it was the top 2 guys who actually fought Lcmc, who cannot undergo because of DPI. And we are going to save to Kenya about 3.5 trillion at that time by just cutting down the cost of our government. So, just lastly, trying to say that, the
fight against corruption cannot actually be left to a few people. If religion now has to come, you have to come. If you have to invoke your faith, if you never had faith before, I think it's time to rethink your faith now. And maybe we should reread the Bible again and say, okay, how practical can we be in this fight against corruption? Because, it affects all of us in equal measure, to be honest. Yeah? If you are an ordinary, can you just use a simple example? We may struggle, maybe your kavits, and somehow life now is beginning to be a bit comfortable. Because of the bad states of our road, you lose your shocks, this and that. You start going to the garage, you think it's actually an aspect of corruption because somebody is eating money meant for good roads and is actually putting in a more difficult financial situation. And I think that's why I was saying, lastly, we need some introspection about the kind of society we want to live in. Are we happy with some of things? Anyway, I can talk about this thing for a long time, but thank you so much and thanks for your time.
Simeona amepunguza mzigo. Alijaribu kupunguza mzigo ndio punda atembee vizuri, akaambiwa wewe, hii punda ni ya mama yako. Yeah, so really thank you so much, Daktari. I took 2 points that really, one pierced through my heart and soul. Because me, I believe in God. I'm not like people who say there's no God.
And yesterday we made our premises clear. If you don't believe in God, this conversation is not for you. Walk out. Yeah. There are a few people walked out after 1 hour. I wasn't sure whether. Yeah. But and Cyprian, I would like to recognize the presence of Cyprian Yamam here. A number of you were there. Really, he gave us very good moving experience and the typologies of corruption, and really we have enriched ourselves since yesterday. But we also added something I never thought about, also being a researcher. Actually, all you people, you've let us down so badly. Sometimes it's good to lie. So, he asked, do you have faith? When he gave the definition of faith, something you totally trust in, totally trust in. Then he said, do you trust our judicial system? What did we say? Do you trust the presidency? Do you trust God? So I was like, I need a new questionnaire now. So because logically, if we follow the logic, is if he was in court, he would have done a 1 minute ruling. The moment we say no, then actually this whole thing that title there is a fallacy. Because you can't have faith practice when in actual sense there is no faith, isn't it? Yeah, so that really struck me. So let's go back to our Quran, to our Bible, to our Hindu, all those. We need to go back there, and then we can be fairly radical. Yeah. So, but I'm intending, Dr. Ekuru, I'm intending to fundraise and buy a new car. So if, or a second car, of course, second hand is new for us. That's what, I've never known a new brand, a 0 mileage car. Yeah, so if you see me driving one, don't say, but I saw you with the other. Yeah, it will be a second hand, and the mileage will have to begin from 100K, kwenda mbele. So really, thank you so much. In the interest of time, allow me to call this. I really want to thank you. The fact that you have stayed here up to this time, of course, many of you realize Friday is a public holiday, so you say, let's have this knowledge a bit more. Yeah, but really the fact that you have stayed up to this hour, so many of you, is a big encouragement. It means that this topic is really of importance to us. Is that true? Yeah, really thank you so much. I want to thank our colleagues, all the facilitators, our organizers, Muiruri, please come forward, and anyone from KCCB, Lcmc, can we put our hands together for these people? I wish you had a few minutes to hear Cyprian here, but kindly stand and wave to Cyprian.
Yesterday was a very powerful presentation. Our lawyers before us, and of course, the two gentlemen here who have worked so hard, the sheikhs, all the religious leaders for being here this morning. But really, without you here, without you sitting here, we will have ended the meeting. So, Dr. Ekuru, please don't say that I stole theft. I'd call it wisdom. So if I withdraw,
Please understand that Dr. Wariri, Bishop Wariri said that God works in miraculous. So I don't know how much money is here. No, I'm kidding. Please, Marita Mageto, if you know him, just say Marita is probably a man. It's a lady. Okay. Kindly just tell them to come to, I think, I'll leave it with Muiruri because it's in town. Town is more central. So Muiruri has this credit card. With that, then allow me to call Father John Webotsa. I hope I pronounced it well. Yeah, we know him more because of his Kariobangi Association. Kariobangi roots, Mathare. He used to be a very strong advocate of the people of Mathare until his voice got distorted. So just come so that they can believe. These guys don't believe. When they hear your voice, they know I speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Come and pray for us. so that we conclude. Go in peace, and really thank you so much. And if you want us to communicate with you, please leave your email with our secretaries there. We'll send the presentations, the PowerPoints, for those of you who may want. God bless you.
Tuombe. Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Mungu Baba yetu, tunakushukuru sana kwa siku hizi mbili ambazo umetujalia. Tunajua kwamba ulikubali sisi tuwe hapo kwa siku hizi mbili, kwa sababu ile tunazungumza ni muhimu kwako wewe, njia ambayo tunaweza kweli kutumia zawadi zako ulizotupatia. Tukuomba msamaha kwa sababu tumeshindwa kutumia zawadi ambazo unatupatia, lakini pia tuomba neema zako, utupatie ujasiri, utupatie hekima ili tuendelee kweli kufanya kazi yako, ili mwishowe kuwe na uwazi, kuwe na haki, kuwe na amani, na zaidi ya yote kuwe na utangamano katika jamii yetu. Tukushukuru kwa kila mmoja wetu ambaye amefika hapa, wale pia waliotuelekeza, waliotufundisha. Na tukuomba kwamba yale yote ambayo tumeyapokea siku hizi mbili yatufai sisi ili tuweze kweli kujenga ufalme wako. Tunaomba hayo kwa njia ya Kristo Bwana wetu. Amen. Bwana awe nanyi. Awabariki Mungu Mwenyezi, Baba na Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Amen. Twendeni kwa amani.
Before the next catch-up,